Joining me now is Congressman Raja Krishnamoorthi, Democrat of Illinois. Congressman, thank you for being back on the show.
Thank you, Hallie.
So you are, of course, Congressman, we should note here, a U.S. citizen. You were born in India, but you came over to this country as a baby. Have you ever been told to go back to a country?
I have, and actually 30% of my constituents were actually born in a foreign country, and a lot of them have, in recent years, since Trump was elected president, heard similar refrains. So that's why it's all the more shocking and alarming that the president would tweet similar things from his account, because it adds to the ugliness of everything that's happening already out in the country.
So the defense that we've seen from, for example, White House officials this morning that the president was not using this racist trope, what do you make of that?
I think that's ridiculous. It's absurd. Everybody who reads these tweets, that they're race baiting, they're racist, they're meant to divide people. I'm a member of an ethnic, religious, and racial minority, and what he's trying to do is he's trying to make those people feel inferior. I might disagree with some of my fellow members of Congress and some of the people who were targeted in this tweet on certain things, but one thing I can totally agree on with them is that they are every bit as American as you and me.
So what are you saying to your colleagues on the other side of the aisle then, Congressman, Republicans who, with the exception of Senator Lindsey Graham, Congressman Chip Roy, have been silent on this so far?
Speak up. This goes to the heart of who we are as America. You know, our creed is e pluribus unum, out of many, one. And what the president is doing through these tweets is basically saying, regardless of whether you are an American, whether you are a citizen, whether you're naturalized, we're going to identify you as the other. And the only people that he recognizes as being true Americans are people who may be white or who may be born here. And that's completely unacceptable. That is not who America is. And so I want my Republican colleagues to speak up and repeat that.
I have other topics to get to you on, but let me just ask you this. Where do plans stand in the House on some kind of a possible, censure vote of the president, a resolution condemning his words? Do you foresee Nancy Pelosi bringing that up?
I don't know. I just arrived at the Capitol this morning.
Would you like to see that?
Be discussion. Possibly, but I want to go beyond symbolism here. I think that the most important thing that the electorate needs to do is to vote him out of office in 2020 based on these types of sentiments.
Let me ask you about a couple of immigration headlines in the news. NBC News is reporting that the Trump administration is moving to end asylum protections for many Central American migrants. Your reaction to this?
That's unacceptable. The asylum law does not say anything about where you come from being determinative of whether you should receive or not. And so this is completely against the law, and I expect that this will be litigated just as the Muslim ban and every other immigration policy it seems like that this president has pursued has ended up in court.
My colleagues at the White House have just, as we actually are in this conversation, sent me a note, a statement from the White House, the Deputy Press Secretary Hogan Gidley, that they're looking at all available options to allow people around the globe who deserve asylum to get it and to protect the American people against clearly fraudulent claims. Does the White House have a point here?
No, not when they say that a whole group of people from Central America are not going to get asylum just because they're from the Northern Triangle countries, for instance. There is no exception in the asylum law for certain people being kept out because they are from certain countries. The laws are clear about that.
You are also on the Intelligence Committee, of course. Former Special Counsel Robert Mueller is set to testify in front of members of Congress. Now, next week, it was going to be this week. How confident are you? What's your confidence level that Mueller will show that the negotiations with Mueller and his deputies are on the right track?
I feel confident about it. They were scheduled for this Wednesday, and now they've been pushed back 1 week. I believe that he will come. This is going to be something that's going to be viewed by a Super Bowl-sized audience, Hallie. I think most people with even a passing interest in his particular work are probably going to be paying close attention to what he says. As someone mentioned to me, you know, he wrote the textbook on this particular Russian interference in our democracy, and they want to hear now the professor talk about the text.
Okay. Did you say Super Bowl-sized audience, Congressman? I don't know. We'll have to see on that one. I'm not sure it's going to have quite those numbers.
I've heard big estimates. We'll see what happens, but
All right.
I think there's going to be intense interest.
I think that Congressman Raja Krishnamoorthi, thank